Hello and welcome to Late Night Thunder. And look, just like the Thunder tonight, not on our A game here over at Morning Thunder, special late night edition here. I'm your host Bobby Howard. With me, Jamison Maxwell, and Um, we're coming live to you fresh after a 125-111 loss to the Houston Rockets. And let's just face it, Jameson, that was a pretty poor performance from Oklahoma City.
Yeah, and I feel like we've been really spoiled this season. Losses happen in basketball. We're on track, if we won all the rest of our games, to have 70 wins. Not many teams have done that. And it's okay to lose on the road versus the second seed in the West. It stings when it's Houston. It's okay. Do not panic, Thunder fans.
Yeah, I mean, just if you like listen to Mark Dignault, you know, it's a one of 82 situation, and I don't want to say that just because it's a loss, but when you look at the scope of the season where they're at right now, everything's tied up. You got the one seed. You have all of these historic like accolades. Obviously, you're not going to get to 70, but that was something. I mean, even like the last time you and I spoke on the podcast, we thought we kind of didn't want them to get. Um,
I wanted
and
him to
it's
rest tonight. And I mean, I don't want to be hindsight guy. I'm not going to be that dude. I'm just going to
No,
stop
but we
before I
we
even go any
legitimately
farther.
said that. We did
Yeah.
legitimately say that. But I think when you're at where you were at, with the 70, that still being in play and all of that, I think you kind of had to let it ride. You had to play it out. And I feel like, to me, this you know this was a game that's frustrating, but overall, it's okay to have bad games. Normal teams have bad games, and that's certainly what the Thunder had tonight. Um, they didn't look like themselves. The shooting was just flat out off tonight. In general, um, but like that wasn't even it overall. It was more than just the shooting being poor. Uh, Houston felt like they had more juice from the jump. They played with a different level of aggression. I thought their rebounding, especially on the offensive end, was excellent. Their shot making was incredible. They were making some really awesome shots. And this is not to say they were lucky by any means. It just means that it was their night. And you got to give credit to where credit's due. Jalen Green had a hell of a performance. He was good. Jalen Green tonight. Fred Van Vliet looked like a guy who would be a nightmare in the playoffs to play against. He was anytime the Thunder would get relatively close, he would just hit a very timely, casual three like it was nothing. And of course, Alperen Şengün was, I thought, really, really good as well. And you see a lot of that potential. Um, that made him an all-star this year, and you see why Houston fans are really excited about his future.
Yeah, I think what it boils down in this game is Houston controlled the narrative and the pace, and they played their brand of basketball and took Oklahoma City's strengths away from them. Things that make Oklahoma City really great is opportunities for one of the role players to have a big game. We had none of our role players having a big game. And this is including Lou Dort. At least one of Lou Dort and Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins, a Cason Wallace, a Caruso, even a Henrich. None of them had a good game. Every single one of those guys that I said out loud played below average significantly for them. And the only guy, Shea had an okay game, only got to the free throw line twice, free throw merchant, comparative to Alperen Şengün, who got there 12 times, real free throw merchant. And, J-Dub had an exceptional game. Chet had an exceptional game. This team relies on its role players, and whenever you have strikeouts on 5, 6 of your role players who usually show out, yeah, you're going to lose on the road versus the number 2 seed in the West.
Yeah, no, I mean you're dead on. The strength of this team is in its depth, and you know, uh, J Dub and Chet were great tonight. I thought. Shea, I thought, had a relatively poor game for his standards outside of a really hot start and then some stuff here and there in the third quarter. Um, but like you said, if you're getting nothing out of Wiggins, or not nothing really out of Wiggins. I thought Cason Wallace was exceptionally poor on offense tonight, as well. He wasn't really doing much, from three or at the rim. I thought they were missing a lot of easy looks at the rim, or not easy looks, but they weren't. There were some pretty solid shots that they usually convert at the rim that they really weren't. That goes for Caruso as well. Um, it was a game where they were just off. And when you shoot what 37, so they ended up 37% from three, which doesn't it doesn't reflect how poor they were shooting at times, but overall, look, when you aren't making shots and the other team is, I know I don't mean to boil it down to it being that simple, but that's one way to lose a basketball game real easy.
Yeah, and Amin Thompson going 2 for 2 from three. That's garbage. And then freaking Jay Sean Tate hitting every single freaking three. I mean, he's 3 4, but still, like, that sucks. That's just one of those where it's just like the role player came out, he had a big game. That's great. And Amin Thompson's a great player, but you're not going to regularly see him go 2 for 2 from three. So I mean,
Yeah.
like, I think as Thunder fans, you can be upset. You have every right to be. You can be frustrated at this. I would not panic from this and realize this is a really darn good team. Houston, we don't respect as a fan base straight up because of our history with them and the beef we have with our fans. And we feel like we're on another level than them, which we are. But we need to respect this team more and what they've done this regular season and what they've done at home. It's been impressive.
I mean, they are a legitimately good team, and you know, I think you can genuinely see the progression of the Rockets from those early season games in November and December. Through the NBA Cup to now, it feels like a different team. They feel like they've grown up, like their young players have grown up. They've melded. Ime Udoka, is showing like why he's one of the best coaches in the NBA and had been that at a level. And you got to give them credit that they played their asses off. They look great. They're a team you would not want to see in the playoffs. I think too many people nationally are sleeping on the Rockets here. Maybe not as a contender, but I don't think they're going to be pushovers by any means in the NBA playoffs. Like, I could very well see a world where the Thunder meet this team in the Western Finals, and I don't think that would be crazy by any means.
I think Houston's really good. I want to respect them, but Denver in the second round, that's a lot, Bobby. That's a
Right.
lot, and it's assuming a Denver stays on the in the 3 seed. They could obviously
Mm-hmm.
fall to the 4 5, but still, that 3 seed's going to be tough. Whether that be that of, I mean, the Lakers. I guess Golden State could still get up there. Denver,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
it's going to be a tough opponent for them.
I'm not picking them, per se to advance to the West. But if they appeared, I wouldn't be like, "Whoa, what a
This is a
shocking upset!"
podcast, Bobby. You
Yeah.
got to say it. Who's getting to the Western Conference Finals? We all want to know. We don't want just so they could make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could go out and win the mid first like half court contest, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to.
You got to put your money where your mouth is. I think they're probably too young, and I think something like this, I think recency bias can take over, especially when you see shot making like that. But no, I think the Rockets are probably a year away from making that point, especially against the Nuggets, who I feel like would be a really tough spot for them. I think they beat the Lakers. I think they're really well suited to
Lakers.
beat the Lakers for sure.
I don't have a lot of respect for the Lakers, but you never
No,
know with them in the playoffs.
right? Yeah, true. But I don't know. I think this is a good Rockets team, and I
Mm,
don't think there's any shame in losing a game where the Rockets have something absolutely to play for.
of
They
course.
clearly don't like the Thunder, as evidenced by the first win they had this season, where they were, stomping on the cell phone, during a Instagram live, singing "Not Like Us." Like, there's not great. There's some bad blood here. So Houston, I'm never going to throw my hands up and be like, oh, they were way more motivated, so that's why we lost. Like, they played their asses off. They deserve a lot of credit for this win. They were excellent. The Thunder didn't bring it tonight. Rockets did. And that's just kind of what it
Yeah.
is. And you know, uh, it stings a little bit, but I mean, this is the third loss since All Star break, so they all kind of stink. They all feel weird whatever you take a loss. But no, I mean, in a week, 2 weeks time, we won't be thinking about this at all. So um, yeah, that's pretty much our recap portion of this. But let's kind of talk, more towards the macro, the overall kind of fuller podcast of this here occasion here on Late Night Thunder. So Jameson, the dream of 70 wins dead for sure. Um, Little disappointing, but there's still plenty to look for here down the stretch, I think. And I want to ask you, like, what are the main things you're looking for in these next 9 days of NBA regular season basketball?
Another answer here, Bobby, that you're not gonna like as content. I don't know. I think my opinion's already set for Oklahoma City for the rest of the season. We lose a couple games. All right, sucks. I wish we saw them win them. Oh well. If they win a couple games, cool. I'm happy. My opinion is not going to change unless something absolutely drastic happens. I don't see a guy on the bench coming out and creating a new big role, something that I'm excited for coming into the playoffs. I feel like everyone's established themselves, or they've already had their opportunity to shine to where we say, like, I feel like they could have their moment in the playoffs. And I feel like the way that Chet's playing right now, I feel like the way that Dub's playing right now coming off injury makes me feel optimistic about their health moving into the playoffs. I mean, there could be some lingering things here and there that, our front, our top 8 aren't 100% healthy, but the way that you can just see from the eye test, if they have anything, they're playing through it and they look decent right now.
Yeah, no, and I'm with you there. And I think for me, a lot of what I'm interested in falls outside of the Thunder in OKC. That 70 win mark was really kind of the last little push. Obviously, winning
That was all a
overall
pride thing.
Oh yeah, and winning. I think having the top record in the NBA, that's something worth having, to say the least. Getting home court advantage against Cleveland, who has a great home court, like, would be pretty good. And of course, Jameson, you get the Maurice Podoloff Trophy for best regular season record. I know, we've all been dreaming about getting that Mopo Trophy in OKC. Time honored.
You
It's
caught me.
We could be the third winner of the Maurice Podoloff Trophy, Jameson. It'd be huge.
I love all these participation trophies that they're giving out. Raise a
Adam,
banner for it, Bobby. Bobby's
I,
all about just raising banners.
I don't think you raise a banner for the Mopo, but I think you put it in like that weird little. It's not even really a Hall of Fame, but
The
you know that
Western
like little.
Division or the
Yeah,
Pacific Division champions.
you put you put it like right next to the Western
Northwest, I
Conference
mean.
Trophy. Yeah. I don't think you raise a Northwest Division banner. In fact, I think you need to start consolidating those into like one banner. Where you just like list them all off on one banner, and then if you need another one, you just do that one, because
Mm-hmm.
we're starting to fill up on those Northwest Division banners. It's getting crowded up there, and I don't know how to feel about that. Um, but really, no, I don't think there's a ton to look at in OKC, because I'm with you. I think it's, especially considering it's Lakers, Suns, and then I can't remember the order, but I know
It's
it's
like
Pelicans,
something
Utah,
in Pelicans. Yeah.
Utah Pelicans, and like I don't care who you throw out there. The Oklahoma City Blue could beat Utah and the Pelicans, who are both very much not trying to win.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's just just honestly, I've been waiting all day for Sunday night at this point. I've been waiting all day for middle of April to get for the playoffs. I'm ready to get there. I'm excited. I'll still be an excited fan along the way, but these games right now, stay healthy, go out, have fun, enjoy watching it. That's really all I want.
yeah. I mean, I tend to agree with you there. I will say there are some other things, like the Sixers pick, their little tanking action.
Which
I
is
saw they just
frustrating. Like everything possibly that could go wrong is going wrong, and essentially is solidified. Unless something drastic happens, they're at the 5 spot, which sucks. Like we were talking about this, a month ago. Like no way they're not going to be, the 6, 7 spot, and here they are at the 5. Like God bless. Like talk about a tanking job. My God, I wouldn't take anyone in the league to beat Philly right now.
I mean, they're atrocious. They are, and you got to give it up to Daryl Morey. He knows how to tank. Philly just immediately reverted back into the previous, like trust the process era, and they did it on a dime. The 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 body of podcast P is still warm, Jamison, and they've
Oh
already
my god.
they've already called it good. Paul George gave up his podcast for nothing.
Dude, like that's just cursed. And here's the thing, like if we don't get so Philadelphia pick, if you're listening to this, you guys know this. But like Philadelphia picks top 6 protected this year. If we go and look at the pick odds, if they stay at 5, which it's very, very likely because if you're comparing records, Brooklyn is the one team that could hop them. They're 2 losses ahead of them in the win-loss. And you are telling me that Philadelphia is going to somehow have to win 2 games here at the end of the season? That's not going to happen. Just throw that in the trash. So for Philly to give the pick to the Thunder and they stay at the 5, that's around a 36% chance. I don't like those odds.
It would have to be one of the crazier lotteries of all time. You'd have to have some teams jump Philly, um, which would be pretty hilarious and also relatively dangerous considering the Spurs are in there, and you don't want a decent team getting Cooper Flag. Um,
Yeah, you do
so,
not want him to go to Miami. You
oh
know,
god,
that would not be fun. I mean, let's look at teams. So you're assuming for Philly to fall to the 7 slot, Bobby. 2 teams behind Philly have to hop them. So let's just say for fun's sake of who would we need to hop Philly to get up there. I think the obvious 2 would be Brooklyn and Toronto that we'd want as Thunder fans. They're on the eastern side. They're the 6th and the 7th right now in terms of odds. And if Cooper Flag went to either of those, that's something sustainable other side of the world that we don't have to worry about. But, I mean, like, you said it. No San Antonio. I mean, Portland's starting to have kind of a nasty team to where if you add one piece, they might get a little bit scary next year. You know what? Actually, screw it. I would hate to reward James Jones, but send him to Phoenix.
oh lord, because you would have no idea what Phoenix would do with it. I could see a world where Ishbia would trade him for like, I don't know, just some random aging
Pascal
star,
Siakam.
Pascal Siakam, because he's a winner. Like something like that. He knows how to win in the playoffs, which is what we're trying to do. So we're gonna send off Cooper Flag for Pascal Siakam in like a second.
Yeah, James Jones he's just a stupid GM. So like anything's possible on the table there.
How much of
I
it do you
think
think is? How much of it do you think is James Jones, and how much do you think of it is Ishbia?
well James Jones was stupid before Ishbia came. So I know it's James Jones. It's just exacerbated by Ishbia.
Well, hey, James Jones has some. He has some credentials though. He won Exec of the Year, so something
Yeah, of
Sam Presti has
course.
never done,
By our
as
knowledgeable
people have
voters.
noticed. Yeah,
Yes, because our voters are really paying close attention to the executives' works behind the scenes. Yeah, because that totally makes sense.
I
Oh,
mean, I
gosh.
will
Wait,
say,
no, Phoenix doesn't even have their pick, do they? Aren't they relinquishing it to the Houston Rockets? So,
they
oh my
are.
God. So, let's just throw that in the
Yeah.
trash. I
Oh
completely
my
forgot about
god.
that. Just throw that. Oh, that's no. There's a bad scenario. Oh my God, I didn't even think about that whenever I was just looking at Tankathon. I was like, oh wait, Phoenix doesn't have their picks. Houston fleeced them. So okay, let's throw that
That
away
is such a
right now.
nightmare.
That would. Oh my God. So right now, Phoenix is at the 10 spot, and they are just plummeting. Um, they're 2.2% to get Cooper Flag. That's
That
too much for me.
I yeah, I hate that. Like Houston getting Flag would be, that is such a good fit for them that it would be awful. Like it would be the worst
Mm.
possible scenario. I think I would put that who would be worse to get Flag, Houston or
No
San
one.
Antonio?
No one. It's Houston 5 times on like every day of the week. This
Is
is
it
the number 2
protected?
seed in the West right now. No, it's an unprotected pick. It's going to
Oh my,
Houston no matter what.
that's horrible. That's horrible.
Yeah. So
James
like it's going to
James
Houston no matter
Jones.
what.
James Jones, man. That's, how do you do that in this day and
Well, it's
age?
like it was all with it was the James Harden trade, right?
God.
So it was the James Harden with Brooklyn and Phoenix, right? Isn't that the track record of that pick?
Yeah, no, I
So
think you're right.
so Oh my god.
That's such a mess.
I don't know,
Anyway,
man. It sucks. It sucks. I mean, like I think going down the list, I would be fine if he was at a team like Sacramento. Yeah, that'd be a big jump. That'd be like a 1% jump. Chicago would be kind of fun actually for him to tell you the truth. I mean, I'd be happy with him in Chicago. So that's about four teams right now. We need two of those teams to jump Philly for us to get that number 7 overall pick. So remember, 36% chance that we get either we get 26.7 for the 7 slot, 8.7 for the 8 slot, and 0.6 for the 9 slot. Um, if you had to pick one team though in the lottery to get flag, who would it be?
Chicago would be cool. Um,
Yeah.
they obviously are like the Reinsdorfs aren't very good with managing talent at all.
Mm-hmm.
So you have that on that end. They're obviously in the East, and it would be nice to just have them over there and not have to bother it. And it'd be kind of cool for Giddy to have a pretty damn solid star to play next to. So, yeah, I think Chicago. I typically don't like the whole saying of like, oh, the league is better when X is good, but it'd be kind of cool to see the Bulls go on a little bit of a run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think storylines matter, and it'd be fun to see the next big time guy like Cooper Flag go into Chicago, and it'll be kind of the same vibes. Like, oh, we were so excited to see Wembanyama go to the Spurs because of like the Tony Parker connection. So,
Right.
yeah, I'm gonna choose the Whiz Kids, obviously, being
Oh,
out
well,
here.
yeah.
That's my pick. I would love to see him in Washington. Um, give him a lot of room to grow and kind of be the number one, and not have anyone around him to take that number one slot. He'd be able to kind of really bolster his game, and that's a management group that I think is at least heading in a somewhat good direction right now.
Yeah. And I mean, like you said, a little selfishly, it'd just be nice to have a functioning NBA team to be able to watch, just a
Dude,
short ride on the
it's
MOA.
em- it's embarrassing,
It,
man.
I don't know
I,
how anybody can watch the Wizards. That's
no,
just
it's bad.
it's bad. That is
I
really bad.
I will say this, Bobby. If we don't get the Philly pick this year, which I actually like, if you close your eyes, like, do you think the NBA is gonna let Philly mm, drop out of this and lose their pick? Like, they
No.
need Philly to be good next year with Embiid there. Like, it's just bad business. I know it's not rigged, but at the same time, I feel like karma is just coming for Philly to pop up, and it's like not like the good karma where it's like, oh, they don't deserve to be rewarded for their bad play this season, but it's like oh, they're gonna get lucky because they're always lucky, and I feel like they're gonna go up and get like the number 3 and get like an Ace Bailey or something. I can see it.
Yeah. I could see that. It feels very frozen on. It would feel very frozen envelopey, but I don't know. It feels like a thing where they need as many cracks at the they've had so many chances and they have flubbed so many picks and so many decisions. But, hey, what's one more, right? So,
Yeah, and I mean it's in the next year. I think it turns top 4 protected. So I'd feel pretty good about that one too. So it's not a lost cause at this
yeah.
point, but it'd still be really darn fun. And if the Thunder don't get a top in, we just get the Clippers pick, which is projected right now at 19. That's fine because Topic is legitimately going to be our top 10 rookie that we have
Yep.
next year. Like,
Yep.
if he was healthy coming out of the draft last year, that's a top 5, top 8 kind of guy. So we're gonna get him back off injury, and he's gonna be that kind of talent. So we can always say, oh well, at least we got this guy to put all of our developmental eggs, because we don't have too much to give in terms of rotation minutes right now. So if you add a Topic and you add a guy like, say, if we got the number 6 spot and we drafted a Con Knipple, or we drafted a like VJ Edgecombe or something like that, it's gonna be hard to find minutes for them.
Yeah. No, and I mean it's one of those things that it's like it's tricky to find minutes for Topic. I mean, he's going to get them, but your the roster crunch is very real, especially when you think
Especially
about
with
AJ
AJ
Mitchell.
Mitchell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
AJ Mitchell, like figuring out what to do with him and Topic, it's going to be interesting. So, this could be a year where, maybe you trade that Clipper pick if it does end up in the 19 and, get some assets down the road, like kick the can down down the road, kind of like what you did with that later pick that we had last
with
year that we
Denver.
traded to Denver. Like
Yep.
that feels like do that, and then if you want to trade into the draft to get a guy you like, if something like that pops up, then you do that. But like a 19, I don't think that has you overly excited. Um, I I think you hope for a miracle on the Sixers. If that doesn't work, you really kind of hope that whatever happens with the Miami Heat situation, like you hope they don't get Cooper Flag, and you hope the pick doesn't convey this year, so you get it next year with the
Hmm.
total unprotected, like totally unprotected, and that's a team that feels like the you obviously have Heat culture and all this, but I don't know. If there were any other team, you would think that they could capitulate at any moment.
Yeah, the Heat right now are in the 10 spot. And I think Chicago's playing well to end the year. I don't see the Heat getting out of the play-in, especially if they're at the 9 or the 10 spot. They're 2 losses behind the 8. So I'm kind of in my head. I think that lottery protected pick is probably going to get bumped to the next year and make it a fun one.
Yeah, and I mean that's all. That's what we definitely want for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so outside of that, of course, being the number one seed, you know exactly what to look for, and I think we're always wanting to see who the Thunder are going to play next, and that's one of the great things about the play-in tournament is when you're the one seed, you get to see this drama play out, and you have a vested interest all the way till the end. So to me, I'm excited about seeing the playoff matchups, which begs the question: which teams would you rather see the Thunder play? Round one. And I think what we should do is do a little bit of a ranking, Jamison.
Okay.
And now, obviously, we're not going to include the Kings or the Suns because, of course, we would rather play them. And look, the Suns are probably not going to make it, and the Kings are
Who would
definitely
you
not
rather
making
play,
it
the
out.
Kings or the Suns, Bobby? Pick it.
The Kings. The
Yes.
Kings. The Kings are horrible. I, I was really confused how the Kings, when the Kings got good, I was like, how did this just horrible organization stumble into this great team? Like, this is really weird. And then they capitulate like 2 years later. It's
Yep.
like, oh, okay,
Yep.
those are the Kings I know.
Yep. Yep. They're
Um,
gonna king. Kang's gonna
yeah,
Kang.
Kang's gonna Kang. So Kings no. Obviously, the Suns. They're just giving up. Like that whole program's a disaster right now. Um, so let's go with. Do we want to go with the team we would rather face the most, or the team we would
Let's
least
start at number
like?
one of the one that we'd want to see the most. And I think that our list is gonna probably be pretty chalk. Me and you while we start. It's Dallas to start. There's no doubt about it. I'm not gonna hear any other argument saying that you want any other 8 seed other than Dallas. You get revenge versus a team that's hobbled, a team that is fragile, and a fan base that is kind of pissed that this team is trying to make the playoffs. And if they do make the playoffs and get swept by the Thunder, that is going to be absolute dagger boo birds in the crowd. Fire Nico's going crazy. Fans getting kicked out of the arena. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. There is no better scenario than playing the Dallas Mavericks in the first round.
I have the Dallas Mavericks number two.
Why? Why?
So I don't. Maybe it's just residual, like what happened in the season series this year and what happened last year. I have number two. I think it's because
So it's just a different
there's
team, Bobby.
I totally get it, but like Anthony Davis can still kind of go off. The super big thing is weird. I'm just less convinced by that. I
Oh
would
my
love the
God.
revenge factor. I totally understand it. They're high on my list still. And I think they're number two, not really because of the Mavericks, because I think they could beat them very soundly, but because of who I think I think the number one team is pretty weak. So it's more about my number one being where they are rather than the Mavericks being who they are.
Okay, so who's your number one?
I got the Memphis Grizzlies.
They're still a good team though. They're on a slide right now, but they are not worse than Dallas.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. I just feel like they're in that kind. I don't think they're worse than Dallas. I just think that kind of vibes right now are weird with Morant kind of getting back up to some antics again. You fired your head coach and, just kind of got off of a, 4 game. They immediately went on a 4 game slide. The fact that they're even
Mm-hmm.
in this conversation just to me feels like a weird vibe. Um,
They're going to be in the play-in.
yeah,
The way that
yeah,
Minnesota's schedule is their strength of schedule to end the season extremely weak. They're tied right now with Minnesota, but hold the tiebreaker in terms of seeding. I don't see a scenario unless something surprises me where Memphis doesn't drop down to the 7 or 8.
yeah. I think it's going to happen. Um, I think they probably realistically would beat the Mavericks in that game because they would have home court and could probably scoot out ahead. Um, but maybe the size overwhelms them a little bit. Not having Brandon Clark has been pretty big. You have Triple
They got
J, who's
Triple J
great,
and
but
Zach Edey. That's a double big attack too, Bobby.
Zach Edey's just like a giant like traffic cone. Which is exactly what we thought he would be.
That's actually pretty accurate. I like
Yeah.
that.
He's like a, I don't know, like a giant Chewbacca figure that you would find
No,
at
that's a
like,
compliment. Go back to traffic cone.
okay, traffic cone, because the traffic cone's like soft and pliable. Like,
Yes.
I exactly. So giant traffic cone.
Chewie's
So I'm
kind of
not,
a badass. Let's be honest, guy.
yeah,
Come on now.
Chewie's cool. Chewie's like, that's like Steven Adams. Steven Adams is a Chewbacca. That's a compliment.
Yes.
You're right. Traffic cone doesn't move. Non-threatening. That's Zach Edey. So
Hmm.
I think it's pretty close between 1 and 2. I just right now I feel like if somehow the Mavericks clawed their way into the playoffs, it would be like, oh look, we made it. We figured out our injuries and all of this. And I don't know. I'm just a little bit.
Yes, it gives them just a little hope for you to smash it.
I I do love smashing Dallas fans' hope. It would be pretty great. So I and I'm not saying I'm out on the Mavericks.
Are you
I think
scared
some
we
people
lose?
are. What's that? No, no. I think it
Okay.
would just be. I think it would be one of those things that I think we would sweep either of them. I think Dallas probably could take. Well, I don't know. I
I
think
think
either
Memphis
of them
takes a
could. Either
game.
of them could take
I don't
one.
think we sweep Memphis.
Yeah, it's tight to me, but I think both of these teams are. I don't know if that's crazy to say that both of those teams are equal. I think Memphis is a little bit better, but I think their situation has deteriorated in such a way that puts them on par with the Mavericks in a way. Like imagine how bad your vibes have to be in a bad vibe contest with the Mavericks.
Yep, you're right. You're right. And usually this would be a no doubt Grizzlies answer, Bobby. But unfortunately, the Dallas Mavericks are in the picture.
Yeah, like that being a discussion is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Um,
I think
okay,
Grizzlies is a fair two. My tier is Dallas way above, but I see that you're scared, and that's okay. You're scared to
I'm
play the
not
Dallas
that
Mavericks.
scared. No, no, I'm not. See, and here's the thing. I think I wrote this more just trying to trash the Grizzlies, but I see how it comes across now, and it's one of those things where one, I'm not scared, and two, it'd be nice to drive down, get some Shugs bagels.
Truth,
Yeah, it would be
truth.
like that would be fun. Like that would be so fun.
Mm-hmm.
Sweeping them in
Yeah.
at the AAC would be delightful. I would love that. That would be great. So it's like if we're talking about, yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna stick with my list, but I absolutely am starting like I'm questioning myself a little bit. Let's move on to number 3 because we've talked about the Mavs and Grizz
Mm-hmm.
way too much here. Who do you have at 3?
I think this could still happen. There's gonna have to be a lot of moving pieces, and it could very well happen with their end of the season schedule. Give me Los Angeles Lakers.
Oh wow, the
Mm-hmm.
Lakers, eh? Okay,
Yeah,
so
I think that they just do not have a good defense at all. I don't know. I think they have the perimeter defenders and the speed to guard our guys. I think that we could just abuse them on standpoint. Yes, they have two great players, but we have two great defenders to put on them. I think J Dub is a perfect matchup for LeBron, and I think obviously Lou Dort is the best defender in the league against Luca. So I think we match up perfectly versus them. And to be honest with you, the Thunder are still in a position where we're disrespected. And if you get a first round matchup versus a team like the Lakers, and you pummel them into the ground, that's going to create a lot of confidence in our locker room, and hopefully it would garner some respect from us nationally.
I see. I think that series is going to come eventually. I don't think it'll come in round one, and I personally don't really want to deal with LeBron and Luca and all of that. And it just to me, I feel like I'd rather get them later on.
Do you
When you
think so?
have some,
You think they win in the first round, huh?
I mean, I'd rather them get eliminated than play them. But
Mm-hmm.
if you have to play the Lakers, I'd rather them have some tread on the tire, especially with how LeBron. I mean, he's a 40-year-old man. The age is starting to show. He's getting banged up more and more. Luca's injury concerns, obviously, we know a lot about that because Mavs fans wouldn't let us hear the end of it during our series with them because Luca always had some sort of injury.
Yeah.
Um, I have the Lakers at 4. Um,
Okay. So who's your 3 then?
I got the Los Angeles Clippers at 3.
Okay.
So, so I got the Clippers at 3. Um, I just don't buy them. I don't buy them right now. I understand that, when Kawhi is healthy and he looks good, he looks great. But to me, I just feel like I just don't think they're that. I just really don't think they're that great. Um, Norm Powell, fine. Like I don't know if I'm sold on this version of James Harden, you know, producing in the playoffs, considering that Prime Harden didn't do it either. The Thunder have been excellent against the Clippers this year. I feel like I think they swept them, if I recall correctly.
Last game
So,
was a competitive one that came down to the end where it was Kawhi had that last second shot to win it, and
yeah,
we scrapped it out.
with no J
So
Dub.
I mean that felt very like playoff atmosphere.
Yes, with no J Dub and Shea having one of the worst games he's had in a
Hmm.
while.
Yeah, I think here's the thing. We're at this point in the West where the West is really thick and there's a lot of different teams vying. Like the Clippers could very well be hell. They could be a 6 seed. They could be maybe a 5 seed if things break their way. So like these are all teams that I respect the Clippers. I think that Norm Powell is the kind of guy that's going to go off in the playoffs, have a couple games, and win you games to where we're not sweeping this Clippers team. And then Kawhi Leonard's been there, done that, calm, cool, and collected. And he does scare me though. I think that he shows out whenever the moments matter the most. So
When
yeah,
he's
they're my
healthy.
next one on the list too, Bobby. Yeah, I think they're 4 for me just because the other teams above them are either hot or really, I think, a team that I respect. But I don't think that this is an easy team. And if we won the series 4-2 versus the Clippers, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I don't think they're in the tier of like rollover like the Mavericks would be, for example.
No. Mm-mm. No,
Speaking
the
of
Mavericks would be a rollover.
okay, so speaking of who did you have? Where did you have the Grizzlies at?
So I had Grizzlies at 2. So I went
Okay, so
Dallas
cool.
1, Grizzlies 2, the Los Angeles Lakers at 3, and then I've got Clippers at 4.
Okay, so we have the same top four. Um, I'll go ahead and do my number 5. This was kind of a, I mean, all at this point you're kind of picking nits because I think we've reached a different tier where you start to kind of sweat a little bit. But of the kind of I would call them, I don't know, sweaty teams. I think this is the least sweaty one. This is a weird analogy. It's the Minnesota Timberwolves at 5. Um, I think obviously they pushed the Thunder in 2 games round to the All Star break. Um, one of them was, I don't want to call it a fluke because they worked hard for it, but it was weird as hell. Uh, with with the amount of threes the Thunder missed and that run, all of that just felt weird. Anthony Edwards wasn't a part of it. That's a game the Thunder, if you look at it holistically, outplayed them. They just completely just fell apart. I can't say capitulated 3 times in a podcast. It completely fell apart, and I don't know. That felt weird. And then the game in Minnesota was tough, but I think that the Timberwolves are tricky. Um, but like a lot of people have said, if they have to play Julius Randle, uh, you like the team a
Do they
lot
have
better.
to?
They
Do they
shouldn't.
have to?
No,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
should. They should can't play Cantor his ass.
Yeah. Honestly, God, guy's pitiful. It's absolute locker room cancer. I agree with you. I think Minnesota's 5 here. Now, here's my thing. If there is a team that I think that can beat us, if we get them as a first round opponent, who's a possibility to get there, because I feel like, you know, I don't think Denver's dropping that far, but I mean, still by logistics, they still have a chance to fall all the way to the 8, which would be absolutely wild. I just don't see that happening being at the 3. I'd say that Minnesota has the best chance at beating us out of all the teams if they were in the 8th spot, but I would have less anxiety with them comparative to a team like the Warriors. The Warriors, watching Steph Curry run around in the playoffs and just hit massive shots, which he will, just gives me unbelievable amounts of anxiety. And I just would rather just deal with the Timberwolves, deal with hateable player and Rudy Gobert, deal with a hateable player if Julius Randle were to play, and deal with a likable player in Anthony Edwards, rather than, Steph, who's like, I respect him, and this dude just kills us time and time again in our history, and I just have too many scars.
No, I completely understand. I'm guessing. Do you have the Warriors at 6 or 7?
Yeah, I'd have the Warriors next at 6, yeah.
Right. No, I mean it's a clear, like, what they have be like kind of developed into, with Jimmy Butler. They have a renewed sense of hope, which you hate to see. Butler obviously is a one of the all-time kind of playoff gamers. Like he steps up in moments like that, and you do not want to see Golden State in round one whatsoever. That would be a disaster. I don't think thankfully, I don't think the Thunder will. The Warriors are trending in the right direction, and they're trending in a spot where you don't really. I mean, who knows at this point? There's a lot of basketball left to be played. Margins are thin, but you'd hope to see them, in that 2-3 maybe. Not second round, maybe second round. Who knows? But you don't want
Yeah.
them first.
I would love to have, if Golden State can claw their way up and keep on, they've won 7 of their last 10. If we can see them claw their way up to 3, I I would still feel okay about the Nuggets dropping. I think the worst case scenario from my standpoint is getting Lakers on the other side of the bracket from us. I do not want to see the Lakers go up to 3. I would rather see the Warriors hit the Nuggets in that 3 spot.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, the Lakers can get batted down here. The Thunder play them twice. If they go all
Mm-hmm.
out, they can certainly help that cause. Um, because yeah, I think you really don't want to see Golden State right now, because that's a team, and Curry's a player that can just, you know there, there's no case amount of Case and Wallace, Lou Dort, and Alex Caruso that can stop that guy at times. That's just who he is. And like you said, there's just some bad energy between the Thunder and Warriors. And on one end, it would be nice to expel that, but if we have to do that, let's do that in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, it's gonna be taxing, man, if we have to play them. Just from a fan standpoint, it's just too much anxiety.
Yeah, for sure. But the worst of the
So I
worst is
mean,
the
like
Denver Nuggets.
yeah, I
Go
think
ahead.
that's, and I just don't see a way that they're gonna drop all the way to the 8. But if you're just gonna do the exercise, yeah, sure. They have 30 losses, the same amount as the Lakers do. The Lakers presumably should get their 47th win tonight. I'm guessing. I think they're like a 14-point favorite. Whenever I check last, so I would think that they're gonna win and be tied with Denver. But like that's a team that's really really good. I don't think we really need to talk too much about the 8th spot. I think more it's just like if you really want to go far and be a Thunder sicko, like what is the perfect bracket look like for you 1 through 8?
Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah,
would be
yeah. Make your perfect bracket for me, Bobby. 1 through 8.
the Sacramento Kings at 8. But no,
not
but
that.
seriously,
Not that.
not that
Realistic one
perfect.
through 8. Mm-hmm.
Realistic 1 through 8. Yeah, I know. Given the exercise, I put the Grizzlies at my 8, but I'm gonna shift the Mavericks there just for the sentimentality
Oh,
of it all.
oh
Because
my God,
like
Bobby, make a choice. Put the
I am,
Grizzlies
I'm
there.
okay. We'll put the Grizzlies there just
Okay.
cause. I feel like it would be a good way to settle that beef, but that the Grizzly fans have sort of had with the Thunder for a little bit. So let's go with the Grizzlies there. Bring back some 2011 vibe, but hopefully not at all. because that would mean it would be a good series, and you don't want that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so Memphis there. Then you would go with the Lakers um, that next round, and then you'd hope for the Houston Rockets in that in the Western Conference Finals. A team that's obviously pretty solid given what we saw tonight, but a team that you know is still young, and when you've seen them play poorly against the Thunder, they've been pretty poor. I so I think to me it's one of those things where they're not going to play like this every single night that we saw tonight. They probably will play like that for a game or two, but if you can win that series in six, you win it in six and you call it good.
Yeah, I think Houston would be a fun team to play in the Western Conference Finals. You have the rivalry, you have the chippiness, you have a team that's competitive up and coming, two young ones with a fun storyline. Not good for your big national writers and Kendrick Perkins and Stephen A on TV, but screw them.
Oh,
I think if I had to
Perk would
break
be happy being
down,
Houston.
yeah, whatever. God
Yeah, he's
bless.
from Beaumont, man.
Yeah, I don't care. He's
You
dead to
don't
me
care about
now.
Kendrick Perkins' happiness. That's understandable.
Yeah, 1 through 8. If I just had to just break down the 1 through 8, Thunder at 1, Houston's at 2, no matter what. I think I want Denver to stay at the 3 spot and stay on the opposite side of the bracket from us. I think if I kept Golden State in Los Angeles at 4 and 5, that'd be entertaining to watch that. And one could take out the other, and I feel like that would be an exhausting series for the two. I don't see that series ending quickly, and by the time they come to us, hopefully we'd be fresh and ready to punch them in the mouth. Then I'd hope for Minnesota to be at the 6th spot and play Denver in the first round, and I think Minnesota has given Denver fits this year. I think that'd be a really fun matchup that could eliminate Denver from the other side of the bracket. And then Clippers at 7, and then Memphis or Dallas at 8. Um, that's
Yeah,
kind of how I would like to see things play out.
Minnesota versus Denver would be. I mean, that would be. I think that is the one you want the most because I'm pretty sure if I'm correct, I think they might have swept this series. Um, and we know that doesn't always translate. It didn't against the Portland Trailblazers when the Thunder played them in the playoffs. It didn't, when the Thunder and Jazz played and had a uh, strong advantage in that regular season. And obviously, those are two cases out of many. But it's clear that the Timberwolves have this sort of edge on the Nuggets, and if that happened, you'd kind of like the Timberwolves there in a way.
Yeah, and
So
for as a basketball fan, it'd be really fun to watch a Timberwolves Nuggets series and a Lakers Warriors series for your first round matchups, and even like Houston versus the Clippers would be fun too. I think seeing Houston as a 2 seed and being really confident and playing against James Harden for a 7 game series, a lot of fun storylines there.
yeah, and then even Thunder Mavs would be cool too, like in its own way.
I mean,
It
Thunder
would be the
Mavs would be
least cool.
beautiful. It would be beautiful. I'm glad you're coming around to it.
Yeah, I was never not around to it. It was my second pick. It just I don't know. I felt like Memphis was more vulnerable at the moment, but
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, but it's weird to say that I want Lakers and Warriors at 4-5 because Warriors are a team that's scary, and I think the Lakers have two of the better players in the NBA, and you never know what could happen with that. I really just think, as a basketball fan, I'd love to see that series of two veteran squads going after each other with a lot of star power. That's going to be the prime time. That's going to be all of the talk shows, all the podcasts talking about that matchup, even though it's a 4-5 matchup, but it'd be a lot of fun. And I think it's going to be an absolutely exhausting series for two veteran groups going after each other with a lot of pride and a lot of effort on the line.
oh yeah. No, I mean that would be. I mean Adam Silver. I guarantee you, he is trying to find ways to concoct that series to bring it into life because it's perfect. Prime Braun, Prime Curry, one last dance, like that. Yeah, and then you add in, just casually add in Luka Doncic, Jimmy Butler on the side, just to sweeten the pot. So I think that would be a really good series. I'm kind of for it regardless because I think you're going to play a tough team in round two, really regardless of who's there. It's the Western Conference. It's a tough slog, and just that's nothing's easy. That's just not unless you're the East, I guess. But even then, then that's not exactly a cakewalk. So it's the NBA. It's tough to win a championship. You have to have a tough path. So
Yeah,
uh,
if you're the one seed in the East, though, Bobby, you're playing what? The Atlanta Hawks first round, the Detroit Pistons in the second round. Like, are you sure about that?
the Atlanta Hawks in that 8 seed or in that that 7-8 like playoff series. It's like the meme of the guy who comes in to a class every day. Hello, hello,
Hello.
hello. Yeah,
Hello.
that's the Hawks in the plan. They're just always there. It's the Hawks and the Bulls. Oh, that's funny. Well, we've sort of looked into our Magic. Well, it was this was less predictions and more like wish casting of what we want to see. But I'm excited to see how it plays out over these next 9 days. Jameson, any final thoughts before we sign off? Because it's probably going to be a while before we get another full podcast in.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun playoffs. Enjoy the season while we have it in the regular season. Just enjoy it. Don't take it too seriously. Losses can be losses. The 70 win things out of the bag. It's a thing of the past. Let's just kind of enjoy and stay healthy.
Yep. Yeah, just soak it up. The time's ticking, and I know we're kind of in those anxious hours where we're just waiting to get to the playoffs, but eh, enjoy these next two, games against the Lakers. Um, you know, sit back, have fun during the play-in, and yeah, but like this thing's coming to an end quick in OKC. Like the last regular season game's on Tuesday. Last regular season home game is on Tuesday, I should say. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe spend time with your loved ones before locking in on playoff basketball season. Staying up till 1 a or not 1 a.m. but like midnight watching the late tip offs on TNT. So maybe that's a good idea. But all right, well that's all we have for tonight's show. Thank you all so much for watching. Uh, really really appreciate it. Um, Special thanks, as always, to executive producer Jacqueline Ferris for all she does for the show. When she's behind the ones and twos, and when she's not, she's just been awesome. So since starting this thing, and if you enjoyed the show, make sure to share it with your friends, and of course, subscribe for more. I'll be back on Sunday afternoon to recap the first of two games against the Los Angeles Lakers. But until then, have a good night. Thunder up, everyone. Oi, technical difficulties galore, but overall, good show.